Look how relaxed this dough is. If I had a 30-minute rest, I'd be pretty relaxed too. So cheeseball. Let's do that again. What's up, family? I am Jet Tila, and this is Ready Jet Cook, where I give you the lowdown on my favorite Asian dishes from shop to plate. And today, we're making the ultimate comfort food from my childhood, Thai congee inspired by my dad, and a side of delicious scallion pancakes. Congee is a food eaten all across Asia. Every country has their own version. But before we get into this, please make sure to subscribe so you can keep up with more of my favorite recipes. Congee is a rice porridge made all over Asia. Today we're making the Thai version, which is called jok, and we're gonna load it up with some pork meatballs and some soft-boiled eggs. The secret to Thai jok or congee is going to be the mix of two kinds of rice. I like to use a jasmine rice, which is nice and fragrant, but I also add Thai sweet rice or Thai sticky rice, also known as Thai glutinous rice. One thing to remember is Thai glutinous rice has no gluten. It's called that because it's extra starchy and makes that congee really nice and sticky. So this is Thai sweet rice. As you can see, it's super white compared to most other rice. That white color makes this extra sticky because this rice is extra starchy. Jasmine rice gives you a really nice fragrance, but isn't really sticky when you add it to water. The addition of Thai sticky rice gives the porridge even more body, and I think a better eating experience. Another thing that makes Thai sticky rice unique is it's a long grain sticky rice, because every other sticky rice on earth is actually short grain. For congee, if you can't find Thai glutinous rice, you could use Japanese sushi rice, Chinese glutinous rice, they'll all work. This is the same rice that I use to make mango sticky rice. So it's not just a savory rice, it makes a fantastic dessert rice as well. So we've got our Thai sticky rice. I need a few more ingredients and let's go make some congee. Let's talk about the star of scallion pancakes, scallions. You're looking for non-wilty, non-slimy, nice strong stalks, and even color throughout the white to the green. Not to be confused with scallion cousins like spring onion, which are obviously different, giant bulbs, right? Larger stalks, and also commonly confused with chives, which are the total opposite. Tiny, tiny shoots, not a lot of flavor. Normally, scallions are always the garnish, the finish of the dish, but for scallion pancakes, they're going to be the star. Make sure you grab the freshest scallions you can for perfect scallion pancakes. Let's cook. Congee is a food eaten 24 hours a day. It's eaten in the morning all the way until late at night. And I have so many memories being homesick from school and my parents giving me bowls of congee to help me feel better. And then as I got older, growing up in LA, there's a certain restaurant in Hollywood where I spent a lot of late nights eating congee after the parties. And this to me is my dad's version, or the Thai version, that I'm gonna show you how to make today. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of ginger. Also want to make this congee super aromatic, so I'm gonna add just a few ginger slices to perfume that rice. I like to peel ginger with a knife. Some people use the spoon or a butter knife. You're using the knife anyway to slice, why not use it to peel as well? Next, the rice goes in, both at the same time. I don't rinse my rice before I put it in congee. I know a lot of people do because they think there's a lot of extra starch, but we're gonna want that starch in this dish. So when you're making table rice, you're using 1 part water to 1 part rice. We're doing like 6 to 8 parts water because we want to make a nice loose porridge. I hopefully have taught you a ton of quicker versions of great soups like pho. Chicken powder is the secret to get to that Chinese stock flavor without having to boil bones for hours. All right, so that's come to a full rolling boil. Chicken powder has salt in it, but I do want straight salt because that's going to bring up those bright notes. And we're gonna simmer this for about 30 to 45 minutes, stirring occasionally and not covering. I want this to slightly evaporate as the grains cook. So while that's simmering away, let's start on our scallion pancakes. I need to boil some water for this hot water dough. So in a stand mixer, I'm gonna add AP flour and cake flour because it has less protein, it's gonna make a softer dough. And next I'm adding salt before we add our waters. I'm starting with a paddle and then we'll switch over to a hook to knead the dough. I'm gonna lock down the head, start this at a very slow speed, and then I'm gonna stream in the water. Most breads in China are actually made using this hot water style. So the dumpling skins, some noodles, some other buns are all hot water doughs. Hot water actually kills the gluten in the flours, dissolves the starches, which yields a really soft dough really quickly. So now the hot water's done its job. I'm gonna add another portion of room temp water to start making my dough ball. The sound of the mixture is gonna start to change a little bit because as the water hydrates the dough, it starts to come together and gives more resistance. So I'm not gonna rush this. I'm gonna add a little at a time, listening for my mixer to tell me when I can keep going. And what I'm visually looking for is for the dough to start turning into a dough ball, and then I'll switch over from the paddle to the hook. All right, that's exactly what I'm looking for. You can see the dough ball starts to come up. It's not really sticking to my hands more than it's sticking to each other. That's the time to use the dough hook. So this is the dough hook attachment, and this is actually gonna do most of the kneading for us. And we'll start low. Although all the water's in, the flour is actually hydrating slowly. And as it eats up all that water, that dough will continue to come together into a sticky mass. What I'm looking for is the dough is one solid mass. Now it's time to finish it by hand. So I've got a bowl. So to the touch, it's gonna feel super soft and supple. I've got all that gluten already activated. I don't really need to knead this much because the machine did all the work. All I'm gonna do now is get this into a bowl and allow it to rest for about 30 minutes. Let's talk about the paste for these pancakes. What is paste for scallion pancakes? We're basically making the Chinese version of a laminated dough. So we love croissants because you've got like flour, fat. And when you cook it, that steam and that fat pushes a ton of layers into that croissant. So we're gonna do the same with a scallion pancake. But instead of butter for croissants, for scallion pancakes, we're using oil. And this is just a high temperature neutral oil. 99% of the time, if you just see the word oil in a Chinese recipe, just use your favorite high temp neutral oil. Peanut, canola, if you're fancy, grapeseed. Think about a scallion pancake as a humble bread, right? You could eat it by itself, you could smear some hoisin sauce on it, you can make a wrap with it. I just love dipping these into starchy things, and that's why it pairs well with congee. So scallions are the star of this pancake, and we just want to cut them nice and thin so we get as much surface area as possible, and we want kind of maximum amount of scallions because this is going to be spread inside that pancake. So I'm not overthinking this cut, just nice thin slices. And the thinner we get these and they hit that hot oil, they're going to release all their amazing aroma. This is kind of like a good amount of scallions. I have friends that are like crazy for scallions. So you could up this and make it like prolific scallion. Nothing wrong with that at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to add all the scallions into this bowl, and we're going to season this and starch it up. And what I mean by that is we're going to do some salt, 5 spice, amazing, for more aroma. And then I'm going to add flour into this, and I'm going to mix all this up, pour that hot oil in, and that hot oil is going to bloom the flavors of the scallion, mix with the flour, and make a nice kind of starchy paste. So I've brought this oil to right under smoke point. Be careful in this step because they might sizzle a bit. Man, that smells amazing. All right, so I'm just making this into a spreadable paste. This will cool and we'll finish our scallion pancakes. Let's check out this dough. I mean, look how relaxed this dough is. I want to cut this dough into 4. So it's time to actually make our scallion pancakes. Use a little bench flour. And then your whole goal here is to make a nice rectangle out of this piece of dough. Don't worry if it's not becoming a rectangle immediately. We are gonna get there. You can also just use your fingers to start stretching it into the shape that you want. And then once I have a nice length, I work on the other side. And I'm going from the inside out. So now we're gonna spread the paste. You want a nice thin layer of this paste because rolling this up is gonna accumulate more layers of fat. And you don't want so much that when you're starting to roll this thing out, it starts to kind of burst like a tire. And the reason we're leaving that little space at the bottom is because that's where we're gonna create a seam to contain all this delicious oil and scallion. So grandma always said when making scallion pancakes, a snake becomes a snail. Makes no sense, it will in a second here. Do a nice tight roll. And as the sides start to accumulate, I'm just gonna pinch them down. And remember that strip that you left uncovered? That's gonna help us make a really nice seam. Elongate the snake out, pinching those seams down at the end. So the snake is gonna become a snail, and that just means I'm gonna coil this pancake to be into a snail shell. And once it's a nice snail shell, make sure to seal this tail into the dough. So when I roll it out, it doesn't go crazy on you. Oh, look at that. So now it's time to flatten this into a pancake. And you're just gonna gently, from the inside out, rotating, roll this into about a 1/4 inch thick. And I'm kind of being gentle at first because remember, we're displacing all of that scallion paste and I wanna be even about rolling this up. And if you start to pop and get a little bit of scallion here and there, don't freak out. That's just gonna be extra delicious because all that is gonna hit that oil and add flavor. What I like to do is make them all, cook them all, and what you don't eat, freeze them for up to 1 month. All right, so let's cook up these scallion pancakes, and for that, I'm gonna need a big skillet. So while the skillet is heating up, let's check in on our congee. I mean, check out how much the rice has absorbed all that stock. So we're really close now. So to cook up these scallion pancakes, you wanna add a little bit of oil to the pan, just to help you kind of start crisping up and heating the pancake through. Usually my skillets and woks are screaming hot, but for scallion pancakes, you want kind of a medium because you want the pancake to cook slowly. Remember all of those oil layers inside? We need to get the outside crispy, but also get enough heat in the middle of this pancake so it starts to puff up. Scallion pancakes are gonna take about 2 to 3 minutes per side, and what you're looking for is a nice deep golden brown with some blistered spots on the edges. And I'm using just enough oil to facilitate that browning and not any more than that because you don't want to fry these inside that pan. So 2 more minutes on this side. I mean, you could really go crazy with these. You could do breakfast pancakes, you could do lunch pancakes, you could do dinner pancakes. Just find your favorite filling, roll them up, and you have the perfect hand food. I'm looking for the other side to be almost as golden. Right? I'm looking for all that layer development. Look at all that layer development right there. And that's it. I'm gonna let these hang out on the plate. Pancake goes in. I can hear the sear. All right, so my pancakes are done. Now it's time to make some meatballs. So this version of congee was always special because my dad added meatballs to it. Adding the meatballs made it more hearty and just kind of made it more of a meal. So I'm gonna show you his meatball recipe. So cornstarch, a little bit of sugar, and I'm gonna use a little bit of soy sauce. In Thai cooking, fish sauce is basically the end-all be-all of salt and umami. Chinese and Japanese cultures use soy sauce. We use fish sauce the most. So I'm just gonna work all those seasonings into this ground pork until it's nice and incorporated. The cornstarch really is kind of the trick here to pull all of those flavors into the protein. Italian meatballs require like breadcrumbs. The cornstarch kind of works like a breadcrumb for these meatballs. For most people, when you think meatball, you think this perfectly round ball that's packed tightly. This is not that. I'm taking about 1.5 teaspoons worth of the meat, and I'm just going to drop them into the boiling congee. So that's how you can do it with a tablespoon. My dad would just take his chopsticks and just flick them right in. The meatballs have been cooking for about 2 minutes. They are perfect. It is time to plate this. I always love a ton of meatballs in the congee, but your ratio is totally up to you. My family's Thai and Chinese, so my Chinese grandmother would just lay a little bit of ginger in here and she's good to go. But my Thai side of the family really likes to load it up. So I'm gonna show you how my dad loaded up this congee. Start with a little bit of ginger all around, but then he'd follow it up with some fried garlic, some fried shallots, a little bit of cilantro. He loved his soft boiled eggs. Look at that jammy egg right there. And then finally top it off with a little bit of white pepper. You're not crazy if you want a dash of soy sauce in here, but this is exactly how my dad made it for me when I was a kid. But as I grew up and learned how to make scallion pancakes, my absolute favorite way now as a grown-up is to dip and tear a layered, amazing scallion pancake into this. Grabbing all the amazing bits and bobs, dipping it into that jammy yolk, and there you have it right there. Wow, that really is perfection. What an incredible duo. That scallion pancake is crispy, yet soft. The pops of the scallions are deep. This is awesome. Friends, please give these recipes a try and leave a comment letting me know how you like to eat your congee. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time here for another episode of Ready, Jet, Cook.